One of the first things that I noticed when I started using this Kala Solidbody UBass is that it was super noisy. So I got some copper shielding and I'm going to shield the body cavity because these new Alumatone P-bass pickups that I put in, they didn't quite kill the interference noise quite as much as I would have liked. So you take the pick guard screws out and the pickup screws out as well. And you should be able to just lift the whole works out, wiggle. They make the pick guard really tight on where the fretboard comes down and the neck comes in. And what I'm going to start with is putting copper tape inside the router cavity. And then I will take the pots out and do copper tape on the whole backside of the pick guard. Main thing that you need to be sure of is that the two sides come in contact. So this is self-stick tape, but it's also conductive. So if you tape it to itself, it will conduct. Some tape doesn't do that, and you have to solder each tape joint. That's kind of a pain in the ass. It should be that if I just tape everything nicely, it should conduct, and it'll be a continuous piece of shielding. But what I'm gonna do is bring some of the tape from the cavity up onto the front of the body so that when the pick guard goes down, some of the copper from the pick guard is going to touch the copper that's coming up and around so that they connect together. And then we got to also solder a piece from our wiring ground to connect the shielding to the electronics. It's not pretty, but it should do the trick. I just need to take the pots out of the pick guard and do the backside of this. And you can see here I've got a little bit of overlap that should catch on the pick guard to bring it all together. And then I'll probably strip this ground wire that goes to the bridge hardware. I'll probably strip a little bit off of that and solder it onto the shielding so that it's all going to ground. One ukulele lesson later and I've got the top shielded as well. Main thing with this, to my understanding, is that the shielded part completely covers the cavity, right? You're trying to create a completely enclosed with copper chamber, and that should be what we've got going on if we just reinstall everything and slap that down, and of course cut out the copper from the pickup and potholes. I've stripped a little bit of plastic off of this ground wire here, and I'm just going to solder tack this to the copper shielding, and we should be ready to roll and can put everything back together. Bada bing. Not the most pretty thing in the world, but it should work just fine. So with Aftermarket strings, these are DR Pure Blues that I wanted to try out. The E string is not going to fit in the slot of the tuning peg. So you need to take the outer winding of the E string down to the smaller inner casing. And you can do that just by unwinding the wire from the outside. If you get it started, you'll be able to peel it off. So here I've peeled off a handful of winds, and then I'll just trim that small bent up end off as close as I can to where it comes off the big wind. And then I can use the smaller wind to fit right in the machine peg and to go down in the slot and get this string attached. Sounds great. No electronic buzz, and these DR strings are a little heavier on the E and the A than the other ones that I had on here, and they were a little bit less buzzing on the frets too. So, great upgrade. The Alumatones sound really nice, and the electronics that are in this bass, while they work, it's probably not a super duper high-end solution, so I don't know. If it was me buying one of these again, I would just assume that I'm going to redo all the electronics. So keep that in mind if you want to grab one of these. Oh yeah.